In the heart of South America, a nation sits at a crossroads. Caracas, Venezuela, city that once symbolized oil-fueled prosperity, now embodies a country in deep crisis, capturing the world's attention. This is a story of an oil-rich nation where millions have been left behind, where power is fiercely contested, and where one man, Nicolas Maduro, stands at the very center of it all. This is Maduro's Venezuela. The story really begins in the shadow of one of Latin America's most influential and divisive figures, Hugo Chávez. His era defined a generation of Venezuelan politics, and rising through the ranks, loyal to the core, was a former bus driver and union organizer named Nicolas Maduro. He was a trusted insider, a key figure in Chávez's inner circle. Then, in a moment broadcast to the nation, Chávez, ailing from cancer, publicly anointed Maduro as his chosen successor. When Chávez died in 2013, the country faced a monumental question: what comes next? The answer came in a snap election. Maduro won, but by the narrowest of margins, deepening the political divisions that were already fracturing the nation. His inauguration was a promise of continuity for his supporters, but for his critics, it signaled a dangerous consolidation of control. Almost immediately, the nation split into two realities, often playing out on the very same streets. Venezuela's entire modern economy was built on one thing: oil. Its state-run oil company PDVSA was the engine of the country, funding the vast social programs of the Chávez era. But the system had a critical vulnerability. When global oil prices crashed, the economy buckled, and then it broke. The first signs were subtle, then they were everywhere. Shortages of basic goods like flour, milk, and medicine became the new normal. Then came the hyperinflation. The currency, the bolivar, lost its value so fast that cash became almost worthless. Daily life was completely warped. In response, an informal economy emerged, one that ran on a different currency. The US dollar started appearing in street markets and daily transactions, a sign of a system in freefall. As the economy collapsed, society erupted. Waves of protests surged across the country, first in 2014 and again with even greater intensity in 2017. The streets turned into confrontation zones. Clashes between demonstrators and state security forces became frequent and often violent. The human cost mounted, and a climate of fear began to spread. As reports of excessive force, arbitrary arrests, and political persecution grew, the international community took notice. Unbacked bodies began documenting serious allegations of human rights violations, turning a domestic crisis into a global standoff. Venezuela became a geopolitical chessboard, with world powers lining up on opposing sides. In response, the United States and its allies began implementing a strategy of maximum pressure. Economic sanctions were imposed, targeting key sectors of the economy, especially the oil industry, as well as high-ranking officials. The debate over their effectiveness intensified. Supporters argued they were a necessary tool to pressure the government. Critics claimed they punished ordinary citizens and worsened the humanitarian crisis. Behind the scenes, diplomatic channels opened and closed. Deals were proposed, often centered on the idea of sanctions relief in exchange for free and fair elections. Venezuela's energy policy, particularly its ability to export oil, became a key piece of leverage in these high-stakes negotiations. As the calendar flipped from 2023 to 2024, the pressure built toward an election year that many hoped would offer a path out of the crisis. Then came the election that reignited everything. As Venezuelans went to the polls, the world watched. The National Electoral Council, the CNE, announced the official result, a victory for Nicolas Maduro. But the opposition immediately disputed the outcome, claiming massive fraud and citing their own parallel counts. The world reacted with a divided voice. Some nations recognized the result, while others joined the opposition in demanding transparency and a full audit. A single question echoed from capitals around the globe: where are the precinctal vote tally sheets? In the tense aftermath, protests returned to the streets. Human rights groups quickly began to warn of a new wave of arbitrary detentions as the government moved to clamp down on dissent. For the families of those arrested, an agonizing wait began, and a chill settled over society. The legitimacy battle moved from the streets into the legal arenas, both at home and abroad. A major pressure point emerged from The Hague. The International Criminal Court, or ICC, had already opened a formal investigation into alleged crimes against humanity in Venezuela. This probe represented a significant, long-term legal risk for officials, a process that operates independently of political negotiations and sanctions. But perhaps the most profound and lasting consequence of the entire crisis has been the mass migration. Millions of Venezuelans, driven by economic desperation and political instability, have left their homeland. This exodus has reshaped the hemisphere, as families walk across borders into Colombia, Peru, Chile, and beyond, even reaching the United States. Neighboring countries, once welcoming, found their borders and social services under immense pressure, forcing them to constantly adapt their policies. And yet, beyond the high-stakes politics and global headlines, everyday life in Caracas goes on. People find ways to survive, to work, to feed their families. But the future remains deeply uncertain, hinged on a few key variables. Oil, as always, remains the ultimate source of leverage, its revenue capable of shifting the dynamics of diplomacy and power. So what happens next? The answer lies in the interplay of these forces. The unresolved election dispute, the pressure from international legal bodies like the ICC, the impact of sanctions, and the ever-present reality of mass migration. These are the factors that will determine the next chapter for Venezuela. Thanks for watching. If you want to understand the forces shaping our world, subscribe for more deep dives every week.